Alex Getty, tell me about Caravan then, the other song that did work out so well.
Well, that was again. It was one of the first ones we put together, and we wanted it to be a bit of a musical extravaganza, kind of a jam song. And lyrically, it's a part. It's kind of the opening segment of a concept that we're still in the midst of working on, which will kind of be revealed when we finish the album, if we do. Uh, so, from an atmosphere point of view, because it was part of a story, that always helps. You know, it always helps to give you kind of an image fix on where to shape the music. But the riffs kind of came out first, and we really got into that verse riff, and we really dug it, and it was something quite different for us, a different kind of tempo attitude too, to play in that kind of way, and then it just kind of took off as a jam song. So
And at the risk of being kitschy, it's kind of a nice sing along. You can sing to this quite readily as a
that's what
fan.
people tell me, which
Hmm.
is always strange to
Oh,
hear.
I can see it though in the chorus,
Yeah.
the repeating chorus.
Yeah, I think the chorus does kind of stay with you, but
So you had the music, and then Neil supplied the words thereafter.
well, we were working on the music, and we had a bunch of lyrics as we always do, and I had a hard time kind of getting my head around the right atmosphere for the lyrics, and then sometimes you just one day, even though those lyrics have been there and you tried them, 3 days earlier and they didn't fit. It doesn't mean that they don't work. It means that I haven't figured it out yet. It's a bit of a puzzle, and you have to really get into the head of what Neil is trying to say. At the same time, find a way in as a singer to bring something to those lyrics, makes them come off the page. So it took a while to do that, but I think one day it just
Hmm.
you came over and I said, I got this idea. What do you think? And it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, it's like a crossword puzzle, where you get stuck on something for hours, and the next day you come back and bang, you get it.
You have to leave it.
Yeah.
And it has to make sense to you from a lyrical standpoint as the singer because you got to go on stage and feel comfortable.
Yeah, I got to believe it. I
Yeah.
have to really feel it. And so I don't have to always agree with the sentiment as long as I can make myself believe the sentiment. You know what I mean? It helps to agree. It makes it more satisfying in the end. But yeah, it worked out, and I was really pleased that we were able to not only make the lyrics fit that particular kind of rock attitude, but also indulge ourselves with you know, a long instrumental piece in the middle of it. So, you say it's a catchy song, but it's still a 6-minute song.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly a hummable ditty.
So you have new songs, wonderful. You have moving pictures, which whose idea was it? By the way, a great idea. The fans are all very excited about going back, playing moving pictures in its entirety. Perfect album to do it with. Who came up with the thought?
That was Neil.
Yeah, Neil brought it up,
Yeah,
actually.
it's his idea.
Some other bands have done it with great success. Was that sort of a
Yeah, I
on
think
his
so.
part?
I think he saw that. I guess it was Steely Dan had done a couple of things like that, and they played different albums on different nights. And he thought it was a cool idea, and so he suggested maybe we should try that with moving pictures. Seems to be our kind of quintessential Rush album. So, and also coincidentally, it was the 30th anniversary of that album's creation, so thought it was kind of apropos.
Camera Eye's one of the fan favorites as well. That's probably the most requested song that we get for live performance, and we've never done it, or at least we haven't done it since the album was released. So this also made it a good way for us to put it into the set and get it out there.
And you'll play it in order, sequential
Yeah.
order.
Yep.
Have you had to dust off like the bass you played on that record was something?
I
that-
tried to, but I was just not happy with the way it sounded. So I'm going to stick with my current bass,
Which is.
which is my jazz that I've used for years now.
What about you, Alex? Is there anything coming out of the storage in order to do these songs live at all?
Nothing that I haven't had out recently. I've got my Telecaster back out, and of course the white 355, which is probably my dearest guitar.
It's kind of an opportunity to freshen up the sound. And I mean, we changed the arrangement of camera eye just a little bit. We snipped it down from 11 minutes to 9:45 or something. So it's still a monster length.
It was the only long song on the record. People
Yeah.
must be just blown away to be able to come and hear that.
I hope so.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's an odd song. And I'm kind of pleased with the version that we have right now. It's
And
not-
that's one you can change because it wasn't one that people have been beaten over the head with, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
like some of the
And it's so
obvious
long
ones.
and repetitive that to lose a couple of repeats here and there, no one's going to really notice.
How much rehearsal goes into recalling and rearranging and coming up with a finished product of a 10-minute song?
Well, we usually spend a couple of weeks on our own individually rehearsing in preparation of the rehearsals.
Right.
And then we spend 4 weeks full band rehearsals. And then we typically do anywhere from 10 to 12 days of full production rehearsals. That way the lighting gets a chance to, be developed, and our sound engineer gets a feel for the hall and the tonality of the band. And usually the last few days are like real gigs where it's the full light show, it's all the video stuff, and we do
Yeah.
it that
So
way.
it's-
We're quite prepared by then, I think.
Yeah.
The band, so it gets a little bit tedious, but I mean you can never be too prepared, I think.
Yeah, it's 8 weeks basically of rehearsal.
I could have just said that.
But there's no surprises that way.
I'm paraphrasing. 8 weeks.
And do things still change based on input, based on the way you feel when you get out and get response, or does it basically stay the way?
Oh, it'll
you've-
stay. It'll stay. Yeah. I mean, usually by the last 10 days when we're in full production, if something feels wrong, we'll know
Yeah.
by then. But sometimes you change up something in the middle of a tour. But this is not really a very long tour. It's about 40 shows, so I suspect we'll probably leave it just as is for those 40 shows, and then when we go back out next year or whatever, whenever we end up coming back, we'll obviously bring a different show around.
Starts in Albuquerque, New Mexico on the 29th, all over North America, Canada, and the U.S. Will it go to Europe?
Not this year,
Not this year.
but we will definitely get to Europe next year if we're back out there.
I got a call this morning from a Spanish fan saying, "When are you coming to Spain?" He was adamant that it has to be at least in the next 12 months.
Okay, well,
All right, I'll go.
I'm open.
It was that easy.
Yeah.
We'll get into some of the songs track by track, if you don't mind, in a bit here from Moving
Sure.
Pictures. The movie, it premiered at the 2010 Tribeca Film Festival. I saw it. I loved it. It won an audience award at that festival. All of the people that came out and talked about their influence, Rush on them, members from Metallica, Foo Fighters, Trent Reznor, members of Rage Against the Machine. Gene Simmons was my favorite quote. People say, "What is Rush?" It's Rush.
That's right.
I loved that. How did it feel sitting back in the audience, like so many of us, watching this documentary, your history unfolding before your eyes? How did it feel? Because it's a different context for you to see something that, I would think, intensive and comprehensive about you and your life from when you were in the living room and dining room with your parents and discussing wanting to be a musician. How did it feel to watch it?
Well, it was very unusual. I mean, it was a little uncomfortable, but at the same time, watching the whole film in terms of a film, I appreciated how they balanced the film, how it was humorous, how it was informative. There were some very tender moments. I think it gave a good insight into the band and into the history of the band, and it showed a side of us that maybe a lot of people don't get to see, and that's our not so serious side.
I found it in equal parts kind of emotional and difficult to watch. I loved the early moments. I loved what they had dug out of the vaults and how they kind of made all those old photographs come alive. I thought that was really quite cool. And of course, I was terribly flattered to hear all these artists talk about our influence on them. It's really a little surprising, but obviously the ultimate compliment. But it's not so easy to watch yourself and your buddy who you see every day talking over and over again about stuff. So bit hard. I felt like I had lived another 40 years in some ways watching it. But what I really loved, as Alex said, was the sense of humor of the film, whether it was us or the pieces that they picked from other people. I really enjoyed being in the audience and listening to the crowd laughing. Uh, because, there's one thing, there's nothing worse than a band who takes themselves seriously, but there's also nothing worse than a filmmaker who takes your life so seriously that you can't throw a few laughs in there. So that was, I think, the surprising part as well. And I was very happy that they had the right attitude about it.